Hey, and welcome to Black Intellectual Radio here on Intellectual Radio, iHeart Intellectual Radio. Hey, welcome. Hey, listen, got a couple of things I want to go into tonight. Um, f- uh, 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 um, Basically, as you can see, as most of you know or have seen or been privy, been following me with the show, is that that I am um, I'm very pro police. I'm about law enforcement, and I'm about the letter of the law. And the other thing is also I have a passion for the law and a love for the law. Okay, now only when it works, when it works. Okay, only when it works and when it's working. And we have to understand this too. The law only works when it's done properly. The law only works when people who are entrusted with the law, operative word, who are entrusted with the law, run it and operate it um, with integrity. Okay. As you see, I'm not wearing my usual, my typical Batman shirt, but as you can see, I'm wearing it says City of Gotham Police Department. Okay, and at the same time, I got my Gotham Police mug with the badge, and I say back the badge. We have to work with our law enforcement community in order for things to change. Okay, now I'm gonna go into a little. I'm gonna go into a little bit of a spin concerning that. Now we all, granted, we all know that Batman is, you've heard me speak before that, that yeah, he's a comic book character, but there's a portion, there's some of that to where it parallels today's society, and sometimes, yes, Batman is who he is. Okay, he is a vigilante. He is a person who we may say circumvents the law, and that's a pretty word. Like I say, I'm not dummying. Me and my show, I'm not dummying down a goddamn thing on anything. Oh, wait a minute before I forget. Okay, we got to have to get the swear jar going. Got to get it going. So just to make sure, and always remember this: I am the originator of the deal. So that being said, what has happened? Batman emulates the community's relationship with law enforcement. Okay, at the same, okay, you have the Gotham City. Okay, Gotham City Police Department. Even though it's fictitious, we have to use some of those things in a way of a parallel way of doing things. Okay, and the title of tonight's show is the law enforcement, and the letter of the law. We have to understand that, and hopefully I can give you some type of bridge or gateway to really get a fluency. Now you've heard me say this all before too, that we must agree that there's that, just like there are good people, there are bad people. Just like there are good police and then there are bad police. We have to fully understand that the two go hand in hand. Make no mistake, it's the bad police that keep the good police. Hear me now. I want you all to hear me very, very carefully. Okay. Very, very carefully. Uh it is the bad police or bad policing that keeps the good cops, good policing, getting up, putting on that uniform, and going to work, because the idea is to make a difference. But we also have to understand that if you're a good cop, if you're about law enforcement, then you have to turn in. You have to do what is right. You have to uphold integrity. And the law has to do with integrity. It has to do with that. And there's a term when people say, well, you know, or the question sometimes is asked, well, I'm not asking you, I'm not asking, you know, how far do you want the law been? I'm just I'm not asking, I'm not, let me rephrase that. The term goes, I'm not asking you to break the law, but I am asking, I'm not, you're not asking me to break the law. I just want you to know how far I can bend it. Now, here's the thing. See, the operative word in that, see, that's such an oxymoron statement. Okay. Breaking and bending. Okay. Here's the thing. Those two words, when it comes to law enforcement, should really never be used in the same breath. Okay. The law is the law. You break the law, there are consequences. If you, depending on how you bend the law, through bending the law for the greater good, operative word, people, the greater good, the greater good. Before I get too far into the show, just letting you know that the phone lines are open. Give me a call here if you have comments or you want to chime in on the law and law enforcement and the letter of the law. Give me a call here at the studio at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. Or if you are watching me via Facebook, you can live chat with me. If you have a comment or something that you want to say, just chat with me, and I will respond to your comments. Okay, and for those who have my number, send me a text. I also will respond to your comments. Okay, now getting back, I am a proponent. Now, me and my mans, I like when we have our conversations off the air before we go on, concerning different topics, especially law enforcement, especially before that, because uh, and the beauty part is that I respect my man's his opinion, because what that does is that gives me something to think about, but it also elevates me to push the envelope. And would you agree with that? Huh? And, because we have to sometimes, and what he does too is that he asks, he'll present the hard question. And these are questions that we have to present to law enforcement. And sometimes we have to present to ourselves. Okay. Granted, I myself, I will, and I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I myself have had my shares of run-ins with the law. Okay. There's some people who have no idea what it is to have an issue or get or have that. I'm gonna tell you something. This is a very interesting stat that and you're more than welcome to disagree. But do you know that 90 when you're in your car and you see a squad car behind you, lights, whether the lights are on or not, your heart drops. Your heart is in your throat and your asshole tightens up. I don't care who you are, what you say. If you say that doesn't happen, you're a liar. I'll tell you, Ted. I'll tell you to your face, because we've all done it. And not only that, but when those lights come on, some of us, and 57% of people, have actually thought about gunning it, of running from the police. This is a known fact. And that's only because of what we've seen and how we've dealt with law enforcement and what we've seen from law enforcement. Okay, that is one of the things that we have to fully understand. The thing that with that's really behooving is that you take some of these cases right now that are in the media. You take the incident with the police officer, Officer Ella French, uh, who exemplified, in my opinion, who exemplified what a police officer should be. She should be the gold star of what policing is. Here it is as a woman, she's on the force with the department 4 years, and she received numerous accommodations, and not only that, but she was, as I mentioned in my previous show, she was the only fee when the city of Chicago was embroiled in a lawsuit concerning a raid to the wrong house, and they had this woman, Anjanette Young, standing there amongst male police officers with their body cams rolling, and she's standing there asshole naked, And these individuals didn't have the decency to say or to get her some clothing to cover her up. And she's standing there upwards to 22 minutes naked while these people are ransacking her home. See, that in itself, that right there is bad policing. Once it calmed down, and the only female officer that was there who came after the fact was Officer Ella French, who witnessed what was going on and told the other officers to turn around. Some leave the room. Ella French even turned off her body cam, escorted Anjanette Young into a room so she could have some decent, so she could put clothes on. And it's understood that Ella French actually made comments to her colleagues about where is your decency and integrity? Where is your decency and integrity? Ella French also was the police officer who rushed a this weekend, a weekend back here in actually it's the Fourth of July weekend, where we had several mass shootings, and where a 1-month-old child was struck in the head. Ella French did not wait for AMBO EMS. She scooped the child up, put the child in her squad, and she rushed that child to the University of Chicago. The child, and at last report, the child is doing well. The family of that child wanted to thank Officer French, but they never got the chance to, because two animals that were let loose upon society by the other knucklehead, Kim Fox, this is the part of bad law enforcement, bad policing, who let these wild animals loose at a picnic, who wind up killing Officer Ella French August 4th, 2021. See, that in itself, and see, when I'm referencing law enforcement, I'm not just talking about the boys in blue. I'm talking about these jagoffs also in the prosecutor's office with the suit and ties. See, there's a combination of everything. I'm gonna tell you all something, and I know a gentleman, and he told me a story to where he was accused of a crime. By another individual. Okay. And this crime could have put this man away, for roughly decades. And as he told me the story, he went on to say, as the process continued, and then he got to a point to where he took a deal. Now, most people will say, well, why would he do that if he's innocent? You have to understand, you have to be on that end of, you have to be on the business end of a sword to understand how sharp it really is. Trust me, be on the business end of a pointed sword. You will know what a shish kebab feels like. You will know what the business end is all about. So as we begin to discuss it, and he took a plea deal, took probation, and as he's waiting in the cage and to be processed and whatever the case may be, the attorney, the prosecutor, this is here in Cook County. This is here in Cook County. This is my point right here where I'm going to. I need you all to listen very, very carefully. The prosecutor came back to where the man was, and a conversation ensued between the defendant and the prosecutor. You know what he told me? The prosecutor told him. The prosecutor came back and they engaged in a conversation. It went something like this, is that, well, I understand that he told him, these are the words that were out of his mouth. He said, I know that you're innocent. I know about the fights. I know about this. I know everything about what went on between the families. And so the man responded, well, if you know everything, why are you prosecuting me? The prosecutor, who by the name, who I'm not, and I don't give a good goddamn. He told me the man's name, and the man's name is Stephen Rosenblum, who works in the Cook, who at that time who worked in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. This is where I'm going with this. The state's attorney, Stephen Rosenblum, went on to say, I needed you to plead guilty because I needed the conviction. Help me understand that bullshit. You are supposed to work in the interest of justice, not in the interest of yourself. And this is one of the problems that we have with police officers and with state's attorneys or district attorneys or prosecutors working in their own interest. It's the same thing, as I said, working in their own interest. This man told this man who's supposed to be a pillar of law enforcement tells the defendant, I know you're innocent. I just needed you to plead guilty because I needed the conviction. I'd never heard anything like so outlandish in my life. How do you even sleep at night when you do something like that? Now, flipping this over, we have people like John Burge who did exactly some of the same things. You ask yourself, how do you sleep at night? Knowing that you're putting people in prison so you can climb the ladder. I'm gonna throw something out, and it's scripturally, and it's in Romans, I believe Romans 12. It goes to say that the law is not for the righteous, but for the unrighteous. The law is not for the righteous. It is for the unrighteous. The man does not carry the sword in vain. He carries it to carry out God's judgment. This is the premise of the law. Laws do not exist for good people, for people who are law-abiding citizens. It exists for people who are breaking the law, for people who are doing bad things. It exists for that reason and that reason only. That reason only. That is why. That's why. So with that being said, the understanding of how we are to operate within the bounds. Now, we will agree that there are some laws that are absolutely ridiculous because because some of these are man-made. They're made and they're put in place. They're put in place so they can make regular people feel secure and make the person who wrote the law, who orchestrated this particular law, makes them feel some kind of way. For example, I'll give you a good example, and it makes no sense. You take an individual, okay, they have law, they have, and pretty much in all the lower 48, all the 48, 50 states, they have laws for people who are convicted of certain crimes called registration. You have people you have people who have to register if they're convicted of a gun charge. They have to register. If they're convicted of a sex crime, they have to go on the sex offenders registry. If you have people who have committed murder, and not only that, but it's a wide spectrum who have committed murder, meaning that you not only murdered someone, but it was done in a heinous way, or it was a child. You have to register. In some of these states, you have to register for your natural life for the rest of your life. Now, understand this. The most prominent law. The most prominent law when it comes to a sex offense is the sex offender registration. Now, I want you all to think about this for a minute. You telling this individual that, okay, he's been convicted of a sex crime, and so now what you have to do is that you have to register Some places it's 10 years, and some places the rest of your life. Do you honestly freaking think that that's going to stop somebody from offending again, or let me rephrase that. That's going to stop somebody from re-offending because you have them on a register? Do you know that the number of individuals who are on the sex offenders list, sex offenders registration, that do you know that that these individuals who are on that list, who are in the registration data bank, do you know that the reoffender or the recidivism rate is under 7%? Under 7%. These individuals will, it's a likelihood that these people will reoffend. 7%. What they're not looking at is that majority of your sex crimes are committed by new offenders or people who've been offending and just never been caught. Now, here's another thing that the law see. This is the problem with our legislators. If you really want to do something and track these people, know where they are, treat them the same way that you would treat a person who's committed murder. You go in the registry for 10 years, or you go in the registry for the rest of your life. If you want to talk about gun violence, if you're caught and convicted of a gun charge, register these bastards. Hey, you got to register. If you don't register, we're going to lock your monkey ass up for 10 years. You're going. See, now you have an active data, a live database to where you're tracking these offenders. Oh, okay, wait a minute. It says here, if I'm Johnny Law and this is on the books, and you know what? And I'm gonna throw this out. Earl, that'd be something that to throw out there, that if you want to do something, you really want to tackle gun violence. When you are caught and convicted, they should have a registry. They should go put you on a gun offenders register, to where they can they're actually tracking you. They know where you are. No different than they would do a sex offender, no different than they would do someone convicted of a murder. That's something that these legislators really actually need to think about if you really want to get a grip. Because now this is what you got to treat them the same way that you would do anybody else. Oh, okay. Well, this is what you got to do. Hey, we're going to put you on a curfew. You know what? These are the kind of jobs you can and cannot have. If we really want to have this open dialogue, this open conversation about the letter of the law, about how we are able to tackle some of these problems, we have to create severe penalties. Because understand something, it makes no sense. It makes no difference to where you're saying, okay, we're charging, or, if you're saying we're charging them federally, okay, fine. That's fine. That's all well and good. But we have to remove the safety net to where, okay, you offend again. Now we got you. Oh, and not only that, but if you are a gun offender, and you are caught with a weapon, and this weapon comes back to having a body on it, life, period. If we really want to have these real conversations about the law. Yes, the law can be done in two ways. It can be used as a scalpel, which means that when using a scalpel like a surgeon, you're just cutting in certain areas you're cutting just enough to get to separate certain things to get to the problem. That's one. But it also can be used as a broadsword, to where you come in and you cutting and slashing and you don't care who you get. Just be out of the way when it's swinging that direction. There are things that we have to have open conversation about. And this is one of them. If you're talking about, for example, people talk about defunding the police. If you're talking about that every officer, and this is something that is widely talked about in law enforcement, that these legislators and these city officials are talking about. If you become a police officer, you have to carry $1 million insurance policy. That what that does is that absolves the city of any wrongdoing, and the officer pays for the lawsuit. But see, what that does is that creates a problem. That's problematic also, because you're talking about an astronomical premium. You're talking about an officer who is subject to hesitate in the moment of truth because he's worried about, he's having that moment of pause of, am I doing the right thing? It's difficult to do this. It's difficult to really gauge that when you are in a fight for your life or another, and you draw your weapon and you kill someone, you wound or kill someone. That's the term that it has to be looked at different ways: a scalpel or a broadsword. One of the two. One of the two. One of Batman's principles is that, and sometimes we have to do what is needed and necessary. One of Batman's key principles is that while fighting crime, Batman will not take a life, even when he knows he should. Batman will not take a life, even when he knows he should. That in itself, we can say, is integrity and is an admirable thing, because yes, I am acting in vengeance, but I cannot use vengeance, and I cannot have anger and vengeance in the same, and use it in the same term, because it defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. It kills the ideology. It kills it. When we walk through life every day, if we're trying to be upstanding citizens, we're trying to do what's right, we're trying to do this. A good example here, just a sidebar. For example, you got people that, there was a report, there was a news story today where a 73-year-old security guard right now is fighting for his life after being attacked by 3 or 4 individuals when they came to do a smash and grab at one of the famed stores on the Magnificent Mile downtown. These people got away with $43,000 in merch. $43,000 in merch. They attacked the security guard, knocked him down. This man suffered a fractured skull, and right now they're trying to do all they can to stop the bleeding on his brain. Here it is. This is a guy who probably is a retired individual who needed something to do, and here it is. You have these animals that are coming out here because, once again, like I said, these are individuals who have no regards for the law. The law is not for the righteous. The law is for the unrighteous. So, hey, it's the bottom of the hour, you all, and we're going to take us a little break here on Black Conservative Radio. A shout out to my man, and you know what? I apologize. I missed you last week. Hey, Captain Hooks for some great fish, seafood, and chicken, and marvelous sides. Hey, get down there if you want something to eat. Get over to 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. So, hey, we'll be right back here on iHeart Intellectual Radio.
Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
These niggas think it ain't crazy out here. Net bounce. Y'all gotta pardon me tonight. I feel like a superhero up in here. When the spinner gotta hit him, gotta get him like new shit. They call me Batman, cause the black mask is on my face. Gun up on my waist, booted and suited in them black capes. I'm looking for some hood rats that I take to the back cave. Y'all lame like blank man, while I'm steady serving them like Pistol on my utility belt, like, yeah, I keep my identity to myself, like, you don't want me to grab that thing from the shelf, like, I call him Robin, cause that's my only help, right? Okay. Girls hit my bat signal when they know that I'm coming. I say I ain't here for nothing, now give me that cat woman. As soon as we started stomach pumping, somebody had started thumping. She jumped up and caught her breath like, did you hear something? As soon as I get near to y'all, you want me to get into y'all. Ain't trying to tease, I'm play with your mind like the Riddler. Girl, I'm really feeling ya, but you're acting two-faced. Her body smell fresh, but her breath needs some toothpaste. Nah, I ain't even gonna play with her, I'm gonna give it to her all the way straight. Wait, she said quit playing. What you think, I'm a joker? About a money freaking, by the end of the night it's over. This girl with poison ivy, but I'ma have to give her a chance. Cause this a one night stand, but I'ma have bigger plans. Jump from top to roof like, through the window like Batman, you goof, right? Hit the floor, then I duck roll, shoot like a uppercut. Gotta leave him sack a tooth, right? Look, this is what I told her. Girl, I break backs, bang. She hit me on the dark night for a late stain. By the end of the night, I don't remember her name. My alias is Alias, not Bruce Wayne. She say she got a man and he'll be home soon for dinner. And by that time, I need to be out like a ninja. She say his heart's cold like a Chicago winter. His friends call him Freeze, but I just call him Victor. And I'm like, shh. Then she say he must get home a little quicker. I'm like, damn, where's the window? And pass me all my B-loans. Do yourself a favor, chick. Lose all my info. Down the fire escape to the black mobile. My cologne in the air. Soon as he knew that I was there, he screamed. Watch me get up out that jam like I make that thing go blam like. All the women like, damn, that's cause they know that's who I am. Okay. The end.
Hey, and welcome back to Black Intellectual Radio here on iHeart Intellectual Radio. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka The Dark Knight, here at the bottom of the hour in the city of Gotham. So I'm going to pose, and this is what this is, and just this is a very good. This is why this is why me and Earl we bounce off each other. We work so well together. And bouncing things off. And this is what makes these shows, not only my show, but the other 30, 40, 50 shows to the way that they are, because everybody's opinions, you may not agree with it, but everybody's opinions matter. And there may be that one particular point or opinion that comes out that makes you say, what the fuck? You know what? That makes sense. And sometimes we have to give the ridiculous a try. So I'm gonna throw this out, and this this comes from a man, because understand something. I consider myself, I consider myself a very intellectual individual, very intelligent individual. But I'm not that far removed to where I'm gonna shut somebody else down because I disagree with them. It would behoove me to listen, because they may have a perspective that I'm not seeing. And as they say, sometimes 4 sets of eyes are better than 2, or you bring in hey, fresh eyes to get a better perspective. And it makes sense, because sometimes take this, and this is the best example analogy. You may have 4 people standing on a street corner. You got a street corner. 4 people are standing on each corner. An accident happens. Do you know how many do you know how many stories you're gonna get from these people? You're gonna get 4 different stories from 4 different people about one incident. Oh, no. I'm trust me. Right. I'm not right now. This not take away. And you're right. I'm not saying that they're wrong. everybody's perspective could be, like he said, they could be correct, but they're looking at it from different vantage points, different perspectives on what someone could say. Well, you know what? The black car was in the middle of the intersection when the white car hit it. No, the white car was here when the black car hit it, and so on and so on and so on. We will all agree that there was an accident, but we have to sift through all of the versions, all of the versions. It's not saying that one person is right and one person is wrong. It's their perspective of what we're saying. So the question was raised is that oh no, I won't say question. Let me rephrase that. The thing that was thrown out is that a lot of these police officers, and I have to I have to look at that objectively. A lot of police officers now are afraid. They're afraid to do their job. They're afraid to draw their weapon. They're afraid to do what is needed and necessary because of the primary reason for this is because of the situation that happened with the primary reason for this is because of the situation that happened with Laquan McDonald and Jason Van Dyke. A lot of officers are afraid, and this is throughout the country, of the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd situation. A lot of police officers are afraid of the situation because of situations that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that have happened in Los Angeles, California, that has happened in New York City, that has happened in St. Louis, that has happened numerous times, of individuals dying at the hands of police because they felt some kind of way that I am the law, and I'm going to put the weight of the law on you, even if it means taking your life. You don't have the police officer. You have to realize this. Police officers, you do not have the right to arbitrarily take someone's life because you have a gun and because you have the law on your side, because you have been granted a badge. Understand something. You have been granted. It is not a right. It is a privilege. If you are a police officer, it is a privilege because you are a public servant. It is a privilege, not a right. Not a right. It's just like driving. Driving is not a right. It's a privilege. Voting is a right. Driving is a privilege because someone said that you have passed all the tests and you've met the criteria to operate a motor vehicle. It's the same thing once you go through the police academy for the 18 weeks and for the 18 weeks, and then you spend another 18 months as a probationary officer. It's a privilege, not a right. Growing up years ago, I wanted to practice law. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I honestly believe, and I still believe this to this very day, that I would have been a damn good lawyer. I would have been a defense attorney because growing up, I saw how the state's attorney worked, how the prosecution worked, and how many people that they were dead, how they were sending people, innocent people, to prison. I just couldn't be a part of that. I'm gonna defend you to the best of my ability. Because I would always, people would always say, that I was, when I would, if I'm going to argue with you, I'm not going to argue trivial or menial things. I'm going to argue the facts. I'm going to argue the evidence. I'm going to argue what we have, what we know, and what we have before us. I'm not going to argue with, I'm not going to talk to you when it comes to what you believe in speculation. Not going to do that. And this is one of the problems that we have. Also, one more thing. I want to make sure that I throw this other thing out there. What my man said. He said also too, if you have police officers that are afraid Find another job, because you're doing a disservice not only to the city but to the badge. If you are afraid, find another job, because we have to understand something. When you go into the realm of law enforcement or the law, with the law, there brings a certain level. That brings a an inherent risk, a certain level of, you may not go home at the end of your shift, or what we call EOW, end of watch. There's a distinct possibility that that can't happen if you're a police officer. If you happen to be an attorney defending someone or prosecuting someone, though, once again, those are inherent risks. If you are a judge, an inherent risk. This comes with the job. Years ago, when the city of Chicago, and I thought this was, at the time, I really thought this was a very, very bad move for the police department. What they were requiring is that these individuals, and see, this is something, if you were going to do, you should have done this well before you got to this point. So now you have to, in order to be a police officer here in the city of Chicago, you have to possess an associate's degree in criminal justice. Okay, so that means you have to have 2 years, you have to have 2 or 3 years of college under your belt. Okay, so here's the thing about that. You want me to apply a law or to apply a principle or a guideline to someone who doesn't give a rat's ass or wombat shit about the law, and I'm going to use psychology on him. I'm going to use what you taught me, what the class of criminal justice taught me on the streets, especially when I'm in a struggle. I'm in a fight for my life, dealing with a criminal who doesn't want to go to prison, who's intent on killing me and getting away. It doesn't work that way. It does not work. The other problem is the antiquated training that these officers are receiving. You're using old school, you're using old textbook measures and not so much, let me rephrase that. You're using 18th century police tactics in the 21st century. Does not work. Does not work at all. None whatsoever. And a lot of this, and I've even heard police officers say this, is that what you've learned in the academy will get you killed on the street. I've heard numerous officers say that. So you have to, in the famous words of Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back, you must unlearn what you've learned. And do you know how hard it is to unlearn something that you've learned, something that has been drilled in your head, that this is the way? You have to unlearn what you've learned. Point blank, period. Now, I will agree. I will say this. Sometimes using, as they say, extreme times calls for extreme measures. Yes, it does. In 1865, President Lincoln suspended habeas corpus, meaning habeas corpus means that they suspended your rights as a citizen because the country was out of control. And with that being said, to a certain degree, if you take a little bit of old school law enforcement and you apply it to the new generation, when you start taking certain things away from people, such as their simple rights, and I know that sounds a little harsh, speaking, especially from a person who loves the law, but sometimes you have to divorce yourself from certain aspects to get an understanding, or to get some people to get some act right in people who have no concept or ideology on to doing what's right. That's the unfortunate part. You're trying to use reasonable things and trying to be reasonable or be reasonable men in an unreasonable time. And this is where we're at, an unreasonable time. One of the this is and I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna go into this too while we're talking about the law, the letter of the law. I don't know how many of you all are following the R. Kelly case out here in out there in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, I'm gonna make and trust and believe. I know some of you all who are you're listening. I know some of you all are you're R. Kelly fans. That's fine. That's all fine and good. But understand something. Let's call a spade, you all. If he did all of these things, he's wrong. And make no mistake, the prosecution is doing a hell of a job of pushing that needle north of zero. They're doing a hellified job. But at the same time, Robert Sylvester Kelly is accused of breaking the law. Operative word, breaking the law, manipulating the law for his own benefit. See, we have to, and I said this earlier, see, when you bend the law or manipulate the law for the greater good. Now, I know people are kind of scratching their head and say, okay, what the hell is greater good? You have to understand the greater good. For example, if let's take a woman who's a victim of domestic abuse. And this dude is whooping her ass from one end of the block to the other for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, dessert, and twice on Sundays after church. He's putting his fist up. He's running his fist hot and cold up and down her head every day. Johnny Law shows up. Now, Johnny Law is supposed to be Johnny Law. He is supposed to uphold the law, but at the same time, Johnny Law may circumvent, means go around for the slow people in the room. Johnny Law may bend the law, meaning that he is going to suspend that individual's rights by whooping his ass and taking him down a dark road or in a room and with no windows and whooping the dog shit out of him for doing this to this woman. Truth be told, I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. That's the part of bending the law. This officer, if this happens, if he does this, should he, let me rephrase it, should he do this, he's not doing it for his own benefit. He's not doing it to gain praise from the victim or to get an extra notch in his gun belt. No, he's doing what needs to be done because he knows how messed up the system really is. I'm going to get this woman justice some kind of way. Regardless of what the outcome, she's going to get some type of relief and justice. And that's me whooping the dog shit out of him. We get him to the station. He's all beat up. Guess what? It's going to be his word against ours. No, he resisted while we were pulling him off of this woman that he was beating to halfway to death. The woman is at the hospital getting treatment. He's going to the hospital when we feel like taking him. That's, people, is justice. That is justice. And make no mistake, I have no problem with that. And we have to realize this too. We have to understand this and get a full understanding. We have to realize that there's all kinds of justice in the world. All kinds of justice in the world. It depends. It's only a matter on who administers it and when it comes. Take these two animals that killed this police officer. Make no mistake. Justice is going to come. It's just not going to come the way they think it is, the way we think it is. Because their mother, she spawned these two asswipes into the world and set them loose upon society. And we have to, and the other thing, and while I'm talking about that, yes, I'm gonna throw some people under the bus. I'm going to throw several people under the bus. If you are one of those individuals, whether you're a man or a woman, and you have birth, you have spawned, you have shit out these rat bastards into the world who are going out and about creating maelstrom, havoc, and madness, your day is going to come too, because you have set these wild animals loose upon society, not so much as decent human beings, but upon society. And you did this purposely. You did this knowingly, because you are an individual who have no respect for the law. This woman, this witch, this spawned witch, gave birth to these two animals, but she has the nerve to give an interview to say that the police attacked her sons. Well, let's look at that, because both of your sons were on probation for what? Robbery. They're both on probation. The one who's accused of killing the cop was on probation. Not only that, but he was fighting another case where he was involved, as I said before, in a hit and run, which was somehow or another, thank you, Kim Fox, who has the common sense that to put in a light bulb to lower the charge from a felony to a misdemeanor. Guess what? If he was held on a misdemeanor hit and run, chances are he would not have been on the street and been at that particular point at that particular time to where this officer and this animal met at the times in their lives, where the animal wind up getting the better of the hunter. And yes, I use the word hunter, because make no mistake, when you have individuals like that, police officers, yes, and you're looking for them, because make no mistake, the police were looking for him because he had a court date and decided he wasn't going to show. So what happens? You start hunting them down, and sometimes the bear, you eat the bear, and sometimes the bear eats you. In this case, the bear wind up eating the hunter. It happens. Such is life. Such is life. But if we take as much time in educating ourselves, and more importantly, teaching this third generation of children, how to conduct themselves in this world, how to understand that the law has consequences. The letter of the law is written in black and white. There is no deviation from it. If you happen to be one of those people that are running the streets, creating maelstrom, havoc, and madness, or you happen to be associated with someone who is attached to something like that, maelstrom, havoc, and madness, you need to really consider your ways. You really need to consider the company that you keep, because understand something. If you ever notice that the person that is creating maelstrom, chaos, and havoc, and madness, it's always the people that are around them that wind up going to jail or losing their lives, because what is for them is coming for them. You just happen to be in the way. It's called collateral damage. There was a guy, I shit you not, that I grew up with when I was a boy. And every time I turn, my mother would always say, I don't want you associating with this young man. And, and at the time he happened to be my best friend. And she would always tell me, I don't want you associating with him. I don't want you around him. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, what the fuck you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. This is, and at that time you're thinking as a child that, this is what parents are supposed to do. You don't like them because for whatever reason, or you don't like them because you don't like their mama, or you don't like their parents. Well, as time proved, she was right, because all of a sudden, as we got older, things began to go on in our neighborhood. And every time something would happen, if there was a break-in, whether it was a home or a car, a robbery of someone being stuck up, his name happened to be in the conversation almost every time. His name happened to be in the conversation. So, my parents told, they said, well, here's the, they gave me one of the one of the rare horseshoes that I got from them. And I ain't sugarcoating shit when it comes to my parents. One of the rare horseshoes I got from them is that they said, well, here's the thing. If if you happen to be with him when the police come, or or he's involved in something, they taking you with him. But I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. It's called guilty by association. If you happen to be in the car with him when this goes down, I didn't know he was going to go in there and rob the store. Doesn't matter. You were with him. And and that's the part where I had to take that under, take what they were saying to be factual, because, and like I said, I consider myself a very smart, a very intellectual individual, a smart person. And it started to make sense that his name kept coming up in 11 different dozen things. And, and at the same time, people knew that we were best friends. So I began to distance myself from him, slowly but surely. And lo and behold, this guy wound up getting caught. He wound up getting caught in a serious charge, home invasion. And him and some other people, they got caught up. And I'm thinking to myself, that could have been me if I had been with him, or if I happened to be in close to association. But that's one of the things that we have to take into consideration. And then, and if and parents, if you have your children that are sitting here listening to the show, by all means, educate them. Don't sugarcoat shit with them when it comes to the letter of the law. Don't do that. Give them the reality. Give them the reality, the harsh language, the hard case of what can happen. If you know that this person is no good for this person, and you're telling them this, hey, listen, look around. Every time you turn around, his name coming up in something. Or every time you turn around, somebody getting shot at, or killed because of this person or the people that he's associated with. Everything, we have to start looking at that. And this is the point of why the law exists. The law, once again, and like I say, people pull it up in your Bible. It says that the law exists. The law is for the law is not for the righteous, but the unrighteous. For the unrighteous. But anyway, with that being said, I see the lights flashing in the distance, and the helicopters are about to land, which means that is all the time that we have here on Black Conservative Radio, iHeart Intellectual Radio, here tonight on a Monday. We've just rotated our hour. So, with that being said, please, take something from this, if not enough, and think about what's being said, how we must operate. Operative word, as you see, I back the blue. I got I have my Gotham City Police Department shirt on, along with my mug. But we have to work together with our law enforcement partners in order to solve certain things. But I hope somebody throw that out about creating a register for gun offenders. I really do. I may even look into that and see how that can be pushed. But with that being said, a shout out to my sponsor, Captain Hook, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 159th and Kedzie and Markham. And with that being said, not my monkey, not my circus.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.